Welcome to the Ben and Lauren Show. I'm Benjamin. Here's Lauren. And it's been months.
Okay. Yeah, I may have to reintroduce ourselves after the last 4 weeks.
It's been weeks. I think our last Ben and Lauren show was in January, late January, and now it is after Valentine's Day.
It kept getting to be Saturday night when we normally do the podcast, and we decided we weren't going to make this whole show a discussion of viruses because we've done it before, but we've had 3 in the past 4 weeks, and we get to Saturday night, and Ben and I were like, we're going to bed. Good night.
Yeah, that is the theme. We usually apologize for not doing the Ben and Lauren show when we talk about how we're sick all the time and all this kind of stuff. Really, that's not our life, but that's just...
It does make doing things late at night more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I mentioned it. It's like, well, it took our extra energy.
But here we are.
Here we are.
We got our tea. And do you have your tea?
I drank it.
Oh, all right.
Hey, that was a prop we could have brought out. Our elderberry syrup gummies.
I still can.
Oh, you want to go get the
Sure.
elderberry syrup gummies? One of the things that we've been doing to try to get a handle on us getting better, boost everyone's immune system, is I made elderberry syrup for everyone. But giving the kids elderberry syrup is really a messy experience, and it's this dark purplish brown stuff, and it stains everything it gets on, especially if you put turmeric in it, which I did. So I thought to add gelatin to it and pour it into ice cube trays, and by dosage. So we have these elderberry syrup gummies, which an adult dose is pretty big.
Well, especially when you zoom in that, you see the little sparkles in there?
That's turmeric, those little sparkles in there, turmeric and ginger. That's not in our original recipe, but we added it.
Here's the child size.
Dad got some special turmeric juice at Costco that's really tasty. I think it has orange oil in it. I'm not sure what the flavoring is, but it's very good. So I added that, and we made a whole
Tupperware full of them.
Yeah, so these are one of the medicines we've been passing out. Let's see, where was I now? We sort of on the spur of the moment did the elderberry syrup gummies. That does save a lot of mess, although Susanna won't eat them.
No?
Apparently she doesn't like the texture. She likes the syrup better.
I like them. They're good.
She's trying to hide that she's not eating them.
They're good. I enjoy them. And they taste good, and they're elderberry.
Well, I will say that even though we keep getting colds, they've all been mild.
It's made with real honey. Actually, did you make that with the
raw honey?
Raw honey?
And I've been real careful. I cool the syrup all the way down to room temperature before I mix it with the honey so that it won't kill any of the enzymes in the raw honey.
Okay, good.
So I've been very careful with it. Yeah, I dissolve the gelatin in the syrup while it's warm. And then I let it cool all the way down to room temperature and add the honey because it still won't have gelled yet if it's still at room temperature.
So we've been indoors a lot.
Yeah, the term cabin fever comes up.
We don't get out of the house very often. And it's funny, whenever we do get out of the house, we bring something back with us, it seems. We went to a baby shower.
We did, and we were 2 hours late because we misread the invitation. By the time we got there, everything was pretty much over. I don't think we are occasionally late for things, but...
Not usually that late.
That was a new one.
But we've been home quite a bit, and our little pre-show discussion, Lauren and I were talking about how it might be good to go for walks, just to get out of this house on occasion.
Well, there's not really anything to do if we do go outside normally. I mean,
not really. Shoveling.
Everything's pretty much put away for the winter. Now, if we get a fairly nice day, I'd like to cut down all the mums in the front yard. They're skeletons now, but when it's snowy or rainy, and that's mostly what it's been, rainy and gray and wet, and there's nothing to do outside.
Well, there's one project waiting for me outside. It's building a gate.
Yeah, the fence is all built, but we have one gate left.
So we have fence on both sides of the house, successfully built. One side has a gate, the other side does not have a gate. It's still wide open. So not exactly a secure perimeter. But
well, we've even been doing our grocery shopping by internet. We've been doing everything by internet. We've been ordering what we need which is really amazing.
It is amazing because Lauren will go on the iPad and tap, tap, tap and make a whole grocery list and submit it, set up a time, and I'll just go over to the local store and they load up the car and I pay for it and I bring it home. Put it away. Just piece of cake.
It has saved us a tremendous amount of time and effort, and probably the rest of the world is thankful that we haven't taken our drippy kids out. It really makes a huge difference.
I have been bringing one of the girls.
Right, but you're not going in the store and gathering all the stuff. You know, you take them with you, and you get to talk to them in the car, and then you load up all the groceries and come home.
It's pretty simple.
Now, the only bad thing is that we can't go to Aldi that way.
No. I kind of miss our Aldi trips.
I miss our Aldi trips.
But they're a lot of effort for us because we have to bag everything ourselves.
And taking all the kids and loading them up.
It's a challenge.
And somewhere in the middle of that, when we have a baby under 3 months, the baby always wants to nurse and starts crying.
But you know, in some ways, some of the quality of the food's better at Aldi.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it really is better.
I will look forward to us being able to get back to grocery shopping.
But there are some items that Aldi doesn't sell. So
trade-off.
It's a trade-off.
But it has been pretty neat to put our whole grocery list in and then just collect it. I actually think those shopping trips seem large, but I think we spend less money overall doing that because we don't get random items that way.
It's true.
If there's a decision made and you can watch the budget, you can watch the list price climbing because you know exactly what it is.
Yeah, if a shopping cart had a running tally of how much your bill's going to be, that would definitely influence your buying. Be like, it pushes me over $290. Well,
there's been several times I've taken things out of our shopping list because I've said, we don't really need that, and that price is high enough now.
And we get lots of eggs.
I've been enjoying shopping that way. I feel like I have a much more organized sense of what's going on.
Well, also, you don't see that big, juicy steak sitting there. You're like, oh, man.
Yeah, I also kind of decide ahead of time what meals we're going to have, and I just get what we need for the meals.
So that's been very useful for us in terms of not ever leaving our house.
It did, having the big shopping trip did bring up a discovery we hadn't quite realized was going on. Yep.
Oh, that's right.
We
Our
have
prop
mice in the storage room.
We have a prop.
Which we had a mouse with a nest of babies in the storage room this summer, and we caught the babies and the mother. But we kept finding things that had been damaged. And it's like, do we have mice still? Now, we've lived in this house for 8 years, and we have never had a mouse problem.
So this was my first purchase with Steam ever. Other than, I guess I've gotten coins and things in the past.
Right.
But there was a promotion where you can get an Amazon gift card, and you can buy it with either Steam or SPD. I bought it with SPD, and what did I do? We discovered we had mice, so I hopped on Amazon, used that gift card, and bought a bunch of mouse traps.
So one of our big shopping trips, we got 3 loaves of bread, and I stored them downstairs on a shelf in the basement because it is cooler and drier down there, and the bread keeps for a while that way. Well, last Sunday we got 3 loaves of bread. And I went to get one up from the basement, and there had been a hole chewed in the bottom, and a mouse had been eating it. It's like, okay, I now have definitive proof that we do have a current mouse in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben got online, and he ordered a set of mouse traps right away, and he read all the reviews, and he bought these mouse traps because everyone said, oh, these work great, and they're reusable.
And they do work great.
So we set them up the first night, and our girls were all excited about setting them. Turns out we do not have squeamish girls about mice. So the next morning, I'm like, well, why don't you guys check the mouse traps? And I hear these little feet, they're all in their pajamas. We caught one! And then we hear, we caught another one.
It's like a scavenger hunt.
We caught 3 mice that night. We caught another mouse the next night. Caught another mouse the next night. I don't know how many mice we actually have.
So we've caught 5 mice in our house already.
Yes.
And maybe we'll catch some tonight. Who knows?
But what's funny is our kids are like on a treasure hunt. Oh, we caught a mouse.
That one's head got squished.
They're like, ooh, that one really got squished. So the way it's made, and you were snapping it, is that it's got like this little door here, And you put the bait inside there, which peanut butter works great like usual, and then you close the door. And this sets the trap to pull it up like this. And the mouse, if it sticks its head in this little hole...
Lose your finger.
I got snapped by it once. It's not as bad as you think. But they almost can't resist putting their little nose in that hole there. And as soon as they lift this door, it will snap the trap down. But you can spring the trap slowly like this. So this comes down and hits the mouse across the head. And as we've seen, it really does just kill that mouse instantly.
I couldn't resist. I got a photo of our our mouse collection.
Either the first day I did, yeah. It's like, well, that's impressive. Now anybody who lives out in the country is probably laughing at us.
Oh, of course.
You've got 3 mice.
You know, I was going to do a post on it, but I knew people would be upset about it.
People get freaked out about the dead mice. The truth is they are pretty cute.
Even on YouTube, you cannot show videos of mice falling into the bucket traps or any kind of mouse trap or anything like that.
Wow.
Too graphic. Too triggering.
Our children were inspecting the dead mice. They're down on the floor looking at them. Wow, this one's really tiny. Ooh, this is a big fat one. The one this morning, it's the biggest mouse ever.
They wanted to know if they were... Yeah, they wanted to know if they were rats. I said, no, those are not rats.
No, they're not. They're small, and they have real silky, fine fur.
They're cute.
They're quite cute.
But they're rodents and they're pests, and they will eat our food.
And could give us diseases.
So we got to get rid of them.
Yep.
We wonder if there's some up in the attic, too. So
we've had 2 electrical things that suddenly aren't working properly, and I'm wondering if anything is chewing on the wiring. Now that we found out we have them in the storage room, now we're getting very suspicious.
So how's the homeschooling going? I think it's next.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we've been doing. We've been staying home, and kids have their routine. They do their schoolwork every morning.
They've been practicing reading?
Their reading is improving, Abigail and Susanna. And it's funny how they're changing as they learn how to read. They are changing. You watch their ability to think through things and do things is changing rapidly. A good example, Abigail wanted to learn embroidery.
Oh, yeah, she's been having a lot of fun with that.
So we got her an embroidery book for her birthday, and she wanted me to read her the embroidery book, the how to embroider. So we sat there every night, and I read it to her. Now she's reading through it a little bit, and she's practicing all the different techniques. But that's not something we've ever seen her really do like that before.
That's
directions.
First. She's also reading the Read and Share Bible. The little white Bible I've been reading to her since she was a little baby. Now she opens it up herself and reads it. And Susanna gets all excited. She comes down and says, Dad, Abigail's reading the Bible. I say, good.
During Torah portions this week, they both got out Bibles so that they could read along.
Yeah.
I've never seen that one before.
And Susanna said that she likes when I ask her questions.
Yeah. So we're noticing all of a sudden they're participating in ways. They go from being little kids who kind of are off in their own world to they're not quite off in their own world anymore, and they're doing things. They're taking it into their heads that they would like to learn something and learning it.
And that's exciting.
That's quite exciting to watch.
And we keep doing it once a week. Just keep doing it, routine. And they look forward to it now.
Yeah.
Last Torah portion, Susanna was very excited and looking forward to it.
Yeah, she got everything all set up. Mm-hmm. Friday afternoon, she had the Bibles out. She had stuff for coloring for everybody. I mean, she had it set up.
So,
what else were we going to talk about?
Jigsaw puzzle?
Oh, yeah, we're putting together our first 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole bunch of cupcakes. The kids are having a blast putting the cupcakes together.
So the whole border on the outside is finished and a few little spots on the inside.
And I'm teaching them the method of how to sort all the pieces. So you sort them by color and by shape. And then I pointed out that the reason it's called a puzzle is because each piece is like a clue. Mm-hmm. They're very into mysteries.
Yeah.
And each piece is a clue. It tells you its shape and the specific color it is. And then there's little bits of colors in there that if you can use your imagination, you can think of where this piece might go.
Yep. It's funny, when I do puzzles, I actually visualize the shape of the connection more so than the color. The color's like a hint, but it's very strange. I've actually have an easier time with the shape of the puzzle piece.
A lot of people do that where they put it together by shape. I tend to look
at... An image.
I look at the picture and I look for variations in the colors and the textures on the pieces, and then I sort them into like, and then I start putting them together.
The colors can sometimes trick you, though.
They can, but often you'll just have a few that don't belong.
Also, looking at the box helps me a lot.
Yeah, I like the box. I know some people say that's cheating.
It's not cheating. But it's very helpful.
So they've been sitting with me and putting together puzzles, and sometimes we listen to a story on tape. And
it's making progress.
These are things you do when you're in a house and you don't go anywhere. Our car really doesn't hardly ever leave our house.
No, our mileage is low on our car because we do everything from home as much as we can. It's our space.
You finished up your Sandler training?
I did. We did 3 months worth of training, 10 classes. Well, more than 10 classes because it was once a week for 10 weeks.
I was thinking about it because that's when the car leaves the house.
And then there's Fridays. I went to every Friday class but one. And in addition, I did a Wednesday, Thursday class, which was called a boot camp, and it was intense. It was rightly called boot camp. And it was 2 full days. And by the time I was done, I felt like my brain was going through doing push-ups. And wasn't expecting a little certificate at the end, and they gave like a plaque for completing it. Not a plaque, but a certificate. And I was so exhausted afterwards, I was actually appreciative that I had a piece of paper at least I can, in my own mind, say, yep, I did it.
You did it.
I could show other people, and they'd be like, sales training. But for me, I look at it, and it's like, that was intense.
You know, there's 2 profound things I think that I've come away with from the things that you've talked about.
Yeah.
The value of admitting you don't know anything.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to say I don't know.
And the value of questions.
Oh, yeah. And it's not really teaching you how to sell as much as it's teaching you human behavior and human psychology a little bit. Not even psychology. It's just behavior.
Just the way that we are.
Just how people are in general. And not other people, but yourself. You know?
Well,
know thyself?
Yes. or as Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. And then it will follow as surely as night follows day, thou shalt not be false to any man.
Mm-hmm.
I think is the saying. But that is true.
And they do teach ethics. And it's not... I put it through the scrutiny of anything in ethical that they don't teach anything in ethical.
But for example, one of the things that you've talked a lot about is the dummy question or the dummy curve. And they very much encourage you to ask simple questions like a dummy would ask, as if you know nothing at all about what the person you're speaking to does.
I have a lot more respect for Columbo. I don't know if you've ever seen Columbo, the detective from, I don't know, it was back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And he'd always put his hand up like this. And he'd ask really dumb questions, and he'd just like, I don't understand, you know. And the other person gets all arrogant and says, well, let me explain it to you. And then he goes, blah, blah, blah. And he just says, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, just one thing. What about this? And that, of course, throws the guy off his...
In the end, he catches the killer because the killer begins boasting to him.
Yeah.
All he knows. And
once you get a person talking, you know...
Well, there's a tendency when you start speaking to someone who might want to buy something from you that you want to sound like you know what that person does.
Or that you want to sell them something. Nobody wants to be sold. They want to buy, but they don't want to get sold.
But you want to sound intelligent, like you know what you're talking about. Like the person should buy from you because you are experienced and you understand what they do and you've got just the thing for them. Whereas what was being encouraged was to get the person talking and tell you about what they do. And the whole purpose is to understand the root of whatever problem it is they're having. Because if you can understand that, then you can understand whether or not, for one, you actually have something that will help them rather than just something you can sell them.
Right.
And number two, what the real thing it is you need to address.
Right. And try your best to determine if you're a fit. If they're a fit for you, if you're a fit for them, And don't be afraid to say, this isn't going to work.
And the value of asking the question, why?
Why? Who, what, when, where, why?
Ooh.
How?
How does that go? The
Who,
the
what,
mystery.
when, who, what, why, how? Who, what, when, where, why, how?
Yes, who, what, when, where, why, and how. The journalism questions.
Who, what, when, where, why, and how? And it's
open-ended journalism
and
questions.
it's surprisingly difficult to ask who, what, when, where, why, and how, because it's always do, have, will. It's always yes or no. It's amazing
Right.
that the human language, that the English language has so many closed-ended questions, and they're useful on occasion,
Right.
But
So Ben has been using, and I've noticed your enthusiasm in that he sees every call or every person he talks to now in a business sense as, even if it isn't necessarily an opportunity to further a business goal, every person he talks to is an opportunity to practice communicating with the person.
Yep.
It's every single person is practice.
And I need a lot of practice.
You've been enjoying practicing. So even if it turns out you can't really help the person you're talking to, you've been looking at it as, but it wasn't wasted time because I got practice.
Also, it's been fascinating learning about people's businesses. Like when I was telling you about the Pure Wafer company.
Yeah.
I just learned a whole industry I knew nothing about. And I found out because I asked.
And then you just kept asking why or how or...
Well, it's the most profound concept I learned is just ask. I mean, it sounds silly, but it's true. It's like
went to very expensive sales training to learn. Just ask.
Just ask. How are you supposed to know if you don't ask? And what I discovered is that I assume a lot. I go through and I try to figure out all the stuff that I already know. And I assume that I know. And I can eliminate all those questions. I don't have to ask those questions because I know. But you don't know.
No.
Until you ask. So you just ask.
You may have an idea that that's what the person is going to say, but until you ask them, you really don't know for sure. And also, people can surprise you quite frequently and answer something you totally did not expect.
And don't be afraid of asking a question that people might perceive as making you less intelligent.
I think to have the awareness of yourself and have the peace to be able to say, I don't care if the person thinks I'm stupid. In fact, it doesn't even enter your head. It's a question. You didn't know the answer, and you don't care that the person knows that you didn't know the answer.
And I know I'm not stupid.
But I think that is actually a surprisingly profound thing. Many of us are not comfortable with the idea that the person we're talking to may think we're stupid if we ask this question.
Unlike you, you're just literally a know-it-all. Do you know everything?
Absolutely not.
Well, that is good.
But think about it, how uncomfortable it is to be able to look someone straight in the face and say, I have no idea.
And actually, that is the most difficult answer to give a lot of times because we want to give an answer.
Right.
I mean, how often does a doctor look a patient in the eye and say, I don't know? I mean, a good doctor will. A bad doctor will say they'll know and they'll lie to you.
Or they'll give you a smoke and mirrors answer.
Or they'll say, take this prescription, take this pill, take this whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But a good doctor will say, I don't know. Or more likely, talk to this doctor over here. He may know.
Well, one of the things I've been thinking about when we've been teaching our kids, going back to the subject of teaching them, is there's a lot of times they'll ask me questions and it's tempting to give them an answer saying, well, this and this and this and this and that is so. And what I'm realizing is how often I really have no idea. And rather than telling my kids that I know the answer to the question they've asked, I really need to say, well, I don't know. I heard one time that this could be true.
Mm-hmm. Also, don't just hop on the internet and find the answer because then you're teaching your children that all the answers are just on the internet.
Right. but more to be comfortable with acknowledging that I don't know. And I may have heard something that seems to make it
We
make
talk
sense,
about that a
but
lot.
I don't know.
Is the illusion of knowing.
The illusion of knowing.
We talk about that a lot because it's important. So, I hear Rebecca stirring in the other room.
Yeah, she usually wakes up about now and I need to feed her.
So I think with that, we're going to end the Ben and Lauren show. It's about 25 minutes. That's about right. So,
It's a short one.
Well, sometimes it goes 45 minutes. So,
Right.
So I think with that, we'll say good night. Say good night, Lauren.
Good night, Lauren.
She always does that.